Good morning and welcome to Friday's Creative Garden. I've so been looking forward to this, but the weather has not been on our side. April was dry and cool, May wet, but here goes. So what we're going to do, we're going to be looking at hanging baskets. We're going to be looking at one hanging basket and two pedestal baskets. Now Maggie's going to come a little bit closer now. We don't want problems with the volume, it's a little bit breezy out here. So the principles are the same, whether you're doing a hanging basket or the pedestal basket, you need a basket. I work with a 14-inch basket because you get greater depth, more soil, water retention. The second thing you need is a liner. We are going to be looking at 3 liners this morning. We've got the cocoa liners. We've got this material here, not quite sure what it is, but we'll be looking at that again in a moment. And we've got the moss. When I was working and had less time, I loved doing the moss. It took longer, but now I'm retired, got more time. I go for the immediate cocoa liner. Now that's ironic, isn't it? So you've got the basket, you've got the liner, you need some compost. So we're using ordinary garden compost. I'm going to be adding a little bit of fertiliser because that compost won't have enough feed for beyond 4 weeks. And then you need the plants. So let's begin. I'm going to start with the cocoa liner. Get them from any garden centre. Very simple. In the basket it goes. It's lined. Couldn't be easier. Now, on top of that, I put a little bit of plastic here with a hole in the middle, and the reason I do that is because it retains some moisture, the water. So instead of the water going all the way through, some of the water gathers in that little saucer. And then I put my compost in. Here I am, back again. In goes my compost. And I put it to about 2/3, level it off, and then I add a little bit of fertiliser. I won't tell you which fertiliser I'm using, but any fertiliser will do. That's going to add a bit of energy later in the season. I top it up with more compost, and then we come to the exciting bit.
Michael, can I just ask a question?
Yes.
Because I don't know the first thing about gardening like you. Could you use a liquid fertiliser, or does it have to be grainy?
No, I shall be using a liquid fertiliser as well. That fertiliser, of course, will be there all the time for the roots. But once the baskets start to flower, I shall be using a liquid flower fertiliser once a week. You've got to feed them and you've got to keep them moist. Feed them once a week. Now, I'm going to pot up now with 5 plants. This is called Pechoa. I've never used it before. I've never heard of it before. You spell it P-E-T-C-H-O-A. It's a cross between a petunia and a calabracchia. It's new to me, and I think it's new to the market, but it's meant to give you a mass of flowers all year long.
Is there a photograph on that label, Michael, to show us what the flower will look like?
Something like that.
Let me see.
But look, better than that, I've actually got one in flower already. That one there, that one's in flower. Now, I bought these as little tiny plug plants in February, but I've been growing them on in the greenhouse. But don't be worried by that. You can buy them this size from any garden centre now, except you'll have to pay a little bit more than I did in February. So Maggie's going to come a little bit closer. So I make a little hole with my hand, and in goes the first one in the middle. So you've got one in the middle, and then I'm going to put 4 others, one in each of the corners. So that goes in at 12 o'clock. I've got mixed colours here. I've got pinks and yellows. This one goes in at 6 o'clock. Some pink here going in at 3 o'clock. Or is that 9 o'clock to you where you're standing?
It's 9 o'clock.
Right, well to me it was 3, and this goes in at 9 o'clock or 3 o'clock to you. So there we are. I have put 5 bedding plants in. I'm going to put a little bit more fertiliser in. and then throw the rest on the lawn, make that grow. Then I'm going to water it. Put plenty of water in. So this one, as you've seen, has been made today. Let's just have a look at these over here. These I made a week ago, and so you will see how very quickly they come to fruition. Have a look at those, Maggie, and this one down here. Those were made a week ago, and already they're filling out. So we're going to pause here, and then we're going to come back, and I'm going to do 2 pedestal baskets with a different liner. Welcome back, and the sun is shining. In fact, it's in my eyes, but that doesn't matter. It's wonderful to have some sun. I love doing this with classic FM on in the background, maybe a cup of coffee. The sun is shining. There's nothing more relaxing. We're going to look now at 2 pedestal baskets, although I'll probably only make one up because the principles are exactly the same. But we're going to look at the 2 different linings. The first is the moss. Now Maggie, you come closer. I love making baskets with moss, but it takes more time. But it is so creative. This bag of moss, you can get them from any garden centre, costs about £10, but it will make 3 14-inch baskets. The birds love it because they come and peck and take the material for their nesting. But it takes a little bit longer to make. So we'll start with the principles. Take a big handful, and Maggie, come in closer, and you just lay it down a nice thick wad there, and you gradually build it up. You lose quite a bit from the side. I always think these baskets look a lot more attractive. You do all this all the way round, and I'm not going to bring it all up to the side, but that's how you go until you get a completely full basket. I'm going to put that on one side and move to another basket. The principles are exactly the same. This is one of my other baskets, shorter one here, but I'm going to use a different kind of liner. I don't know what they call this one, but you get it from any garden centre. Costs about £4.50, something like that.
Oh, that looks like Hessian.
Yeah, could be. And you just put that in there, and that's it. The basket is lined. Now how
Oh, it's felt
easy
and a
is
bit
that?
of Hessian.
And it looks quite attractive from the outside. So I've lined it. Now I get my piece of plastic. Snail on, we'll get rid of him. Now I've had these for about 5 or 6 years. I recycle them each year, and I've made my little hole you can see there. I lay it in the bottom. That's my drainage hole. But that bit of plastic retains moisture. In goes my compost. Exactly the same principle as we were using before. About 3/4, no, about 2/3 full, and then I've got to come and get my compost. Oh, sorry, my fertiliser, which is round the corner. So Maggie, you can get a handful, bring it back, put in my fertiliser, and then I throw a bit on the lawn to encourage. And then in goes the rest of the compost. Now I've got a very able assistant today. That's my wife, Mrs. Taylor. She's been carrying bags of compost around the garden all morning to help me. She's a very professional, very keen gardener.
Not.
Now, again, I'm using 5 plants. Do you want to come in a bit closer? First of all, I'm going to put an upright one in the middle, and then I'm going to put 4 trailers around the outside. This time I'm going with a upright fuchsia, and that goes in the middle. And then I'm going to put 4 trailing plants. Diascia, I think we call this. This is a white trailing plant. Let's bring that over there. I'm going to put that at what I think is 6 o'clock for you, 12 o'clock for me. Then I've got this Bidens, which is quite an attractive orange plant, would you say, Maggie?
Yes.
That's orange.
Like a burnt orange.
That's that's a good description for it. And all of these are going to come trailing round here, and it won't take them long. Now this is the calabrachia that I was talking about earlier this morning. This is a lovely colour and a lovely trailing plant. It looks small and insignificant at the moment, but boy, you give that another 3 or 4 weeks and that's going to be right round here. And finally, what have I got here? I've got another calabrachia. Another calabrachia. These are very moist. Probably got them a little bit too wet, although we've had so much rain over the last 24 hours and they've been outside. So there we are. It's done. And I will now put a little bit of fertiliser. I use Grow More, but you could get any other, lots of other fertiliser. Then I shall water it. And then I shall sit down, have my cup of coffee, enjoy the sunshine. I might even have a little nap. And by the time I wake up, this will be wonderful. So I hope you enjoyed Friday's Creative Gardening. Have fun. Welcome back. This is a little postscript. I thought I'd finished, but now I've invited you back into the garden. And I'll tell you why. Because I've completed the moss liner, but I'm not very impressed with it, so I thought I'd better tell you that rather than let you race out there to buy an expensive bag of liner. I told you earlier that you ought to be able to get 3 baskets from 1 bag of moss. This has taken 1 complete bag. It's a £10 liner. It's too expensive, and frankly it's jolly hard work, but the principle is the same. I've lined it, I put my plastic saucer at the bottom, I filled it with compost, put a little bit of Grow More in, and this time I've put a geranium in the middle. Can you see that nice geranium there, Maggie, in the middle?
Yes,
and
lovely.
I've put 4 petunias. These are trailing, but they're actually saphinias, which are a type of petunia, and these will trail around here, and they will look lovely.
And Michael, can I just ask you something? In the previous video, you were talking so passionately about gardening. Tell us all where that passion for gardening began.
Oh, it came from my parents, no question about that. Both of my parents were keen, passionate, and pretty good gardeners, and they would spend every available moment down their garden where they lived, and I lived with them before I went off to college for 18 years, and I would sort of work with them, picking up tips and developing my interest.
And was it all about flowers, or did they grow other things?
No, they had an enormous allotment down the garden. Dad had a tractor with which he ploughed to the bottom part of his garden, and they grew everything. They had 3 greenhouses, 2 big greenhouses. Yeah, so that's where my interest came.
And vegetables.
Yeah, vegetables as well. So I hope it's been interesting. A little postscript. I definitely wouldn't go for the moss liner. I think I would go, frankly, for this one here. It's so easy. And once these flowers trail over, you don't see it. And you can use it time and time again. That's the advantage. You can use this probably 4 or 5 years, if not more. Anyway, enjoy. I've enjoyed sharing this with you. Good morning and welcome to some summer gardening from the North Norfolk coast. We're here at our caravan in Norfolk, and I'm going to complete the baskets which surround the caravan. We've got 15 baskets here. I've already done 14 now. This is the last one, so I'll show you what I'm doing. First of all, I've got some cocoa matting, but unfortunately, because these baskets are quite old, there is a gap between the top of the cocoa matting and the basket. So I've got to overcome that problem. So what I do, I get some of this and I gently tuck it in all the way round. Maggie, if you come to this basket just here, you'll see exactly what I've done with the matting. And this one already set with the geraniums. So we're going to break in a minute. I'm going to set the cocoa matting. I'm going to set this in that basket over there, and when we come back we can fill it with compost. Welcome back. Well, since you left me last time, I've completed putting this matting on the outside of the cocoa matting, and Maggie, if you look down there, you'll see that I've started to put my compost in. This is ordinary garden compost, get it from any garden centre, and so I'm going to put a little bit more in here just to almost bring it to the top. And then I'm going to show you my magic ingredient. Now, because we live in a very hostile environment on the front row in Norfolk and the wind blows, and we are not here for a lot of the time, they will dry out. I haven't got anyone to come and water them. So I use these moisture controlled little pellets. They are water gel tablets, so I sprinkle that in. And when I water my geraniums, the tablets absorb the water and then they release them. So
And Michael, do you use these at home as well?
No, I don't. I only use them at the seaside when we are not here to water. So I've got my compost in. Oh, I've nearly forgot. I need to put some grow more in. Give them a little bit of energy, because this compost only has enough energy for about 4 months. So I put a little bit of grow more in. Now I've got 4 colours going in. I'm going to put pink at the end. I make a little hole with my hand, just enough, and then I'm going to make another hole. So here I've got a lovely red one going in. So I'm going to go pink, red, pink, white. I think that's what I'm going to do. There's 2 in there. Number 3 goes in. This is a lovely white one. And in about a month's time, these will be in full colour. I will be collecting my waste later. Don't imagine I'm just going to leave it there and abandon it till it blows in the wind. And here's the last one going in. And there we have the last of my 15 geraniums. I do it just for Maggie, not for myself. And Maggie, why don't you pan round and show them the water?
Yes. There's a lovely view of the sea. Oh, there's lots of people coming by. It's a gorgeous sunny morning. It's Sunday morning. Beautiful. It's going to be a good day.
And I've put just a little bit more grow more, and now I shall water them. 15 baskets to water, that will keep me busy. So a little bit of seaside gardening. Right, we've done all of our baskets. If we look down there, we've got half a dozen down there, and we come round the front just so that you can see, and you don't think that I'm cheating when I say we've got 15 baskets. So come across here, some more down there, and from the front, and they will be a riot of colour later in the year.